Hi, it's Lee. We're up here at the range today with a viewer request for the Ruger GP100 as a CCW do-it-all type of gun for hiking, target shooting, hunting, and personal protection. And this is a viewer request from Philip Perion 5289. So the question is a revolver, and in my case the GP100, still viable in 2026 as a CCW do-it-all type of gun? I think it is. What it lacks in capacity over semi-auto, it certainly makes up for in simplicity and versatility. In terms of concealability versus a semi-auto, I have this in an alien gear holster. Conceals very well, it's very comfortable to wear all day. It's not too terribly heavy. Like I said, it's about the same weight as my CZ Shadow 2 carry. And actually I think it conceals a little better because more of the grip of the gun is below the belt line, or at least that's the way I have it set up. So in terms of concealability, there's certainly not an issue there. So when it comes to a revolver, you have a lot of flexibility in the ammunition that you can shoot out of it. You can shoot a 38 special, 158 grain, round nose flat point, a 38 special, 125 grain truncated cone bullet, a 357 Magnum, 140 grain flex tip, and a full power Magnum load 125 grain jacketed hollow point. With 9mm, you're limited to 9mm. You can't shoot other calibers, and also the shape of the bullet has an effect on whether it feeds or not. So in terms of revolver, it has a lot more flexibility in the ammunition that you can shoot through it. Okay, so weight-wise, the Ruger GP100 stainless steel weighs 40 ounces. And fully loaded, it's 42 ounces. Compared to my CZ Shadow 2 carry, which is 30.5 ounces empty and 42.7 ounces fully loaded. Okay, so now we've got the CZ Shadow 2 carry loaded up with one round of 124 grain. And we'll see what we get on the chrono on this. So 1057.1 and a kinetic energy of 307.6. Okay, so we've got 125 grain truncated cone 38 special. These are one of my cowboy loads loaded up. I'm going to shoot it across the chronograph and see what we get. So we got 552.8 and a kinetic energy of 84.8. Okay, so now we have the 158 grain round nose flat point. This is a cowboy load as well. So 745.7 and a kinetic energy of 195.1. So moving up there in terms of velocity and kinetic energy. Okay, so now we have the 140 grain FTX. And this is loaded with a light Magnum pistol charge. So 1147.6 and a kinetic energy of 409. So I think that's getting close into the 9mm range. Okay, so now we have the 125 grain jacketed hollow point, and these are a full power Magnum load backed by H110 powder. So yeah, quite a bit more. 1,458.7 and a kinetic energy of 590.5. And I forgot, we do have one more round to shoot here with the GP100. This is a 158 grain semi-wad cutter backed by a Magnum charge of tight group. And this definitely would not feed in a semi-auto. Okay, so we've got the 158 grain semi-wad cutter. and that's 894.7 with a kinetic energy of 280.6. Okay, so when comparing revolver to the CZ Shadow 2 carry, which has about the same barrel length, the revolver can go from mild, in the case of 38 Special, my cowboy loads, to wild, the 125 grain jacketed hollow point, whereas the 9mm, you're right around that 1,000 feet per second and about 300 foot-pounds of energy. The revolver with 38 Special loads varied from 700 feet per second to 1,400 feet per second with the 357 Magnum loads. So you have a lot more versatility in terms of the loads you shoot. I mean, obviously, if you wanted to go target shooting, you could just shoot 38 Special low power loads. You don't need to have all that extra recoil and stuff if you just want to practice your fundamentals. If you want to go out in the woods and you're worried about larger game, then you could load up the jacketed hollow points and have a much more potent load than you could with a 9mm. The other issue that I saw was that when I used my CZ Shadow 2 carry, I had to adjust the brightness of the optic, which you definitely don't have to do with iron sights. So that's another plus for revolver, just in the simplicity standpoint. Probably the biggest drawback to a revolver today is the capacity versus a semi-auto. In this case, I have 7 rounds. In my CZ Shadow 2 carry, I have 15 rounds. But do you really need all that capacity? It's nice to have it, but in the case of target shooting, just everyday carry, going out hunting, something like that, you probably don't. The bigger factor is your accuracy. One well-placed shot is better than 5 or 10 where you miss the target. The other issue that the semi-auto has, the revolver doesn't have, is you do have magazines, and the magazine springs wears out. Here, you just load them into the cylinder, and if you do get a light strike or something like that, you just go to the next cylinder. It's a lot simpler design and probably a lot more reliable. You do have iron sights, which is a drawback in terms of fast target acquisition, but it's also a benefit in that you don't have batteries to replace. They don't break for the most part, and it's just more reliable. Okay, so the question is a revolver a good do-it-all gun in 2026? I think it is. It serves a purpose as a CCW with 7 rounds of 357 Magnum on tap. You really can't go wrong. You can get speed loaders for it, which makes reloading a lot quicker. And you do have the versatility of shooting different rounds, different bullet types, different bullet weights, which makes it a much more versatile than a semi-auto. You don't have the issue of having a magazine that you might have to replace the springs. You don't have an optic that you have to adjust the brightness on or change the battery. So it's a much more simple design, which makes it a much better choice for a do-it-all gun than a semi-auto.